What's up, guys? It's Bumpkins. Today is Wednesday, June 8th. Wednesday means New Comic Book Day. New Comic Book Day means New Comic Book Haul video. As always, I went down to Infinity Flux here in Chattanooga, Tennessee for another big old stack of books and a larger than expected pile of extra goodies as well, but we'll get into that in a minute. Real quick, guys, if you are on the Whatnot app, be sure to check out my LCS. It's Infinity Flux Comics, all one word, on Whatnot. It'll be linked in the description below. They have all kinds of cool stuff that they sell all the time. They do anywhere between 2, 3, 4 shows every week. They have awesome themed shows. Last Friday, they had a Silver Age Amazing Spider-Man show. This Friday, they're doing a Bronze Age Amazing Spider-Man show. Earlier tonight, they did a weird and wacky action figure show. They just have all kinds of cool stuff all the time. I've got plenty of stuff from there. I've been posting all of my hauls from those auctions on TikTok, so those are really fun. So yeah, if you're on Whatnot, be sure to check them out and get some really cool stuff. But let's go ahead and check out the comics this week because it was like I said, a larger than expected week, but still a good one. So starting with Marvel, Amazing Spider-Man number 3, I got the scroll variant. I love most of these, they're pretty fun. I did not love this issue though. This is the worst of the 3, in my opinion, that have been out so far. Nothing happened in this issue except for Tombstone kicking the crap out of Spider-Man, and then we got a little bit of Tombstone's backstory from when he was a kid that I didn't care about at all. Nothing is going on. They introduce all these strange mysteries in the first issue, and they didn't touch on them at all in the second issue, and only barely grazed the surface on one of them in this issue at the beginning. And outside of that, it's just more Spider-Man versus Tombstone that we've seen 1,000 times. At the end of this, Tombstone is going to go after Robbie Robertson and his son Randy Robertson, and it undoes all of the character development between those characters that have come up in the last couple years, with Randy dating and now engaged to Tombstone's daughter, Tombstone actually accepting that, him and Robbie Robertson having a nice conversation in one issue, kind of not really bearing the hatchet, but more like a truce, just agreeing to a truce since their kids were in love. All that's gone now for no reason whatsoever. I'll never not buy an Amazing Spider-Man comic because it's my favorite. Spider-Man's my favorite, but this one has got to get better. Next up is Jane Foster, The Mighty Thor, number 1. I picked this up because I'm still riding high on that Thor Love and Thunder trailer. Jane Foster as Thor is awesome. I've got the omnibus over here somewhere in there. Can't wait to read those stories, but I wanted to check this one out too, and it was a good story. There's a whole mess of villains coming to Asgard, actual Asgard's villains, so like Ulick and Hela was approached but said no, and there's just a bunch of bad stuff coming Asgard's way, and Thor is nowhere to be found. We don't know where he is or what happened, but we do know that he threw his hammer to Jane in order to help, and she has to pick up the hammer and figure out what's going on, and it was really cool. I will say, though, I don't think this is one I'm going to need every month, so I'll probably wait for this on Marvel Unlimited, but it was an interesting story because, like I said, there's all this bad stuff coming to Asgard. It's like a coordinated attack. Lady Sif is there, Beta Ray Bill is there to defend, and, Jane now has Mjolnir again, and she's got to find Thor and figure out what's going on. So it's a very interesting story, but one that I think I can wait for on Marvel Unlimited. Next is Savage Avengers number 2, the new Savage Avengers series. The first one was good, but weird because the way the characters came together didn't really make much sense. Like, it just happened suddenly. They were all doing their own thing, and then they all of a sudden were together and fighting against Deathlock, which was the most interesting part. I like Deathlock out of that the best. I did not get a chance to read this issue yet, so I can't say much about it, but I'm interested to see where it goes based on how the last one ended. There's an idea that they may be using this series as a way to write Conan out since Marvel lost the rights, but I don't know for sure. So I guess we'll have to see. Maybe we'll find out in this one. So speaking of Thor, as I was a minute ago, Thor number 26. This is a Banner of War part 4. And this was just, so I've said it about the previous parts of this storyline. This is just big and dumb in the best way possible. It is so much fun. This thing took me like 2 minutes to read because it's very light on dialogue, and it's just a literal slugfest between a hulked out Thor and actual Hulk proper. And how do you stop this? Who wins out against that? The ending is really cool. The way that it ended is even bigger and dumber and even more fun than what we've seen before. The story is ridiculous, but in the best way possible. I do not mean that as a slight at all. This is very fun. This is just fun comic book stuff. You know, it's one of the classic battles of all time. Hulk versus Thor. Who wins? Well, now they're adding even more craziness into an already crazy battle. I love this. We've got one more part left, and I can't wait to see how that ends. And then last up for Marvel is Venom number 8, also the cool Skrull variant, just like Amazing Spider-Man. I have not read any of this series yet, so I don't know what's going on or how good or bad it is, but I am very excited to find out. As for DC, we've got Batman number 124, the nice B cover here. This was, it was kind of a one and done. It felt like a placeholder between all the Shadow War stuff that just wrapped up and then Chip Zdarsky's run with Jorge Jimenez on art that's about to start next month. This was just like a way to... they needed an issue to put out between those, I guess, and this was it. So it does kind of tie up the Abyss storyline from a couple story arcs ago, which was okay. I didn't love it, and this had the same feeling. I didn't love this either. It wasn't bad at all, but it was just, it was just one singular story. This didn't end on a cliffhanger that's going to lead into the next one, and it doesn't reference any of the Shadow War stuff. It was just its own thing, dealing with a little bit more Abyss stuff. I think it's going to actually lead into Batman Inc., which I guess there's a Batman Inc. series or mini-series coming in October. I'm not real sure. It was a fine issue, nothing wrong with it, but I'm really just excited for Chip Zdarsky to take over next month. Batman Beyond number 3, so I did not get a chance to read this one. I have read the first 2 though, and it's a really interesting story, especially last issue. Batman Beyond was having to get rid of all of his tech to deal with the villain that he's fighting, because that dude can sense him coming because of all of his tech, so he was having to sort of go back to basics. It was interesting to see Batman in the future have to operate more like Batman from the past, our time. I don't know what goes on in this because, again, I didn't have a chance to read it, but I'm very interested to find out. Okay, so let's talk about Dark Crisis number 1. So this issue was... not a lot happened in this. This was a lot of setup for the big event to come that we're going to have through December, I think. I think it lasts through December. This sees the Justice League... they're dead. They died in Justice League number 75, and then there's been like a couple of prequel primer issues leading up to this. John Kent is trying to figure out, what his place is now that his father is dead, and I keep using air quotes, which I'll get to in a second, but the other heroes are picking up the slack because the villains are coming out of the woodwork now that the Justice League is gone. The villains are coming out of the woodwork. Hal Jordan comes back. We've got Wally West running around, literally trying to stop all this stuff. And John gets the idea to form a new Justice League. So, what does that entail? Who does that entail? I feel like there's one nice big splash page that shows everybody, but I feel like it's just like the biggest hodgepodge of just random characters. Good characters, but there wasn't any of that. We've seen it before in Justice League, number 1 issues of Justice League or issues of Avengers, where the big guns sit down and say, we need this type of hero and that type of hero and a stealth hero and a speedster and a strategist and that kind of thing. This just felt like John Kent went around to every hero we could think of, and it shows him being rejected by some heroes, and some heroes accepted his invitation, and it seems like whoever said yes was automatically in. Like, there was no strategy behind it. You want to be in the Justice League? Yes? Okay, you're in for sure. So that's fine, I guess, but I've said before that I'm interested in this, but I changed my mind. I'm not interested in this. So I think I'm just going to abstain from all the Dark Crisis books and maybe read them on DC Universe Infinite, or maybe get a trade if it comes out. And I'll tell you why. Because this feels just super disjointed from everything else going on in the DC Universe right now. Like I said, I just read Batman number 124, And Chip Zdarsky's starting a whole new run next month. But in this book, he's dead, right? There's no... Superman, Kal-El, Clark Kent is dead, yet we know he's on Warworld trying to liberate that entire planet. There's no mystery to if the heroes are dead, are they not dead, how are they going to come back, what's going to happen without them, because they're not gone. They're right here. I mean, there's no mystery to it at all. There's no stakes. I don't care, because it's not like when Batman supposedly died at the end of Final Crisis, and that led into, that had ramifications. That led into Battle for the Cowl. That led into Dick Grayson becoming Batman for a while in a really great series. When Superman died in '92, and that was felt throughout the DC universe for, the year that he was gone, and we get 4 new Superman, and all the heroes are mourning. None of what happens here is being reflected in any other books. And I don't need every book to really, really mean something or to really change the universe. But it's just so disconnected from literally every other book that I'm reading from DC right now that I just don't care. Like, I don't know what the end goal is. Like, when they inevitably come back at the end, it's not going to matter because they've been there the whole time. So I didn't mean to go off on such a rant about it, but because it's just so disjointed from everything, I just don't care. So I will read it eventually, but in an effort to try to cut back a little bit on everything that I'm buying, and also just not caring, I think I am going to pass on the rest of this story. So one that I will definitely never pass on is Dark Knights of Steel. We got number 7 here, and things are really getting going. So the different kingdoms between the Elves, and I can't remember the house names, but the one that the Elves run, and then the one that Black Lightning runs, and then the Amazons. It's kind of like Game of Thrones with all the different houses all fighting for the same thing. Well, all the different houses in here are going to war, and things are ramping up, and they're really starting to attack each other. We get introduced to a few more characters that are definitely not new, but they're new to this story. We haven't seen them before, and it's interesting to see those characters. There's a cool nightmare sequence in this with Superman and some of the other elves doing some cool stuff. Just a super interesting story. I've never really been able to get into fantasy books before, but this one is very different, and this one is very good. And then the last for DC is Flashpoint Beyond number 2. I just finished reading this one, and this is still pretty interesting. And it's still, Flashpoint Batman, Thomas Wayne Batman, trying to figure out why his world exists again. He doesn't know. We don't know. We're not supposed to know. That's what I guess this whole series is about. But it's interesting that he knows that he's not supposed to exist, and that his world is not supposed to exist, and yet it does, and nobody knows why. I dig it. There's it could go to a lot of places. I don't know if it's going to have greater effects on the DC universe once it's all said and done. I just don't know, and we're not supposed to know, but it is definitely a fun ride trying to figure it out. As for Image Comics, we've got the 30th anniversary, the Cyberforce 30th anniversary commemorative edition. So Cyberforce is 30 years old, just like a lot of the Image books. Image is 30 years old this year. A lot of the original Image books are 30 years old this year, including Cyberforce. Cyberforce was always one of my favorites. Like, I really liked Savage Dragon, and I really like Cyberforce. Those are probably, thinking back on it, probably my 2 favorites. This is just a reprint of number 1 from 1992. I got the awesome Brett Booth variant cover, which was $10 as opposed to like $4 or $5 or maybe $6 that the regular cover was. I don't know why. It's not really a cool practice to do, but I just wanted this cover regardless. So it's just a reprint of number 1, but there's some extra stuff in the back. An interview with Mark Silvestri about, the creation of Cyberforce, some sketch work, and some storyboards for, like, I guess there was going to be an animated series, so it shows a little bit of that. But yeah, I would love for Cyberforce to come back. I love this team, even though they're a blatant X-Men ripoff. I just kind of dig it. I would love to see new issues of this. So probably the strangest read, or of the ones I've read so far, the strangest but also most interesting is Skybound Presents After School number 1. So from what I understand, this is, I don't know if this is a miniseries or an ongoing, but from what I understand, it is an anthology series, just like Ice Cream Man or Silver Coin, or there's several of them out there, and they can be really fun because you can just pick up whatever you want and enjoy a good story, and then it's done. So this story features this girl named Nora, who's very, she doesn't have a lot of confidence in herself. She's always screwing things up. Her parents get her this dog, which boosts her confidence greatly. She's great at school. She's great at sports. She can do all kinds of things. But, and I don't want to spoil too much, so I'm not going to say too much more about it. But we learn the truth about the dog, and it's very bizarre. And but you think it has well, the way that it ended is super interesting. It's a little gruesome. It's not necessarily a horror story. I don't know that I would go so far as to call it a horror story, but it does have some gruesome elements to it. The mystery of the dog is kind of bizarre, but leads into the really interesting ending. It's really fun. So if you're looking for just something different and something that you can just pick up and read and then be done with, and you don't have to worry about more and more issues, then After School might be the one for you. Next from Image is Spawn number 330. I say it every week. This is going to go on the Spawn stack because I haven't read any Spawn in a really long time. But I love that cover, and I swear to you guys, I promise, I will catch up on everything Spawn one day. And then last from Image is Twig number 2. I had to get the Scotty Young variant. This story is just so much fun. It's full of fun and whimsy and adventure and a little bit of danger. I think we're going to get into a little bit more of that next issue. But Twig is still trying to figure out what this jewel egg thing is that he got last issue. But while trying to figure out what it is, he doesn't break it, but he saps it of its energy, which is a bad thing. And he has to try to figure out how to re-energize it. So he meets more just bizarre characters, and the character designs are just crazy but fun. And this is just, and again, just like the first issue, this book, the visuals of this book are almost like seeing a comic book in 4K. And it's almost like turning the brightness on your phone, like I said last time. It's like turning the brightness on your phone way up and the colors just pop. The colors of this book are the unsung hero. The art is obviously gorgeous, and the designs in the world, but it's the colors that, for me anyway, really set this apart from everything else, that really makes it look different from everything else on the shelves right now. So if you want a visually stunning book with a story that's not too heady, but it's just a lot of pure fun, then definitely check out Twig. And then the last of the single issues, this is the Artist Elite Primer Blue. So last week we got Primer Red, which gave us a little bit of a sneak peek into some of the titles coming from the new Artist Elite comics that's about to start releasing not a bunch of different issues, but they're going to start releasing a magazine that contains several different stories featuring these characters. So this Primer Blue just does the same thing, but with more new characters, all of these characters basically. So you've got Tyler Kirkham's Final Boss, and you've got the Sandwinches and Red Ronin, and yeah, so the only thing about this book is I'm super interested in all of these guys, but I would have, just like I said with Primer Red, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of the actual story. So we get some, artwork and little blurbs about the synopsis of some of these, but I would have loved to have seen like a couple preview pages of each one or something like that. But regardless, I am excited for this. The artwork in this by all the different artists is really good, and I'm definitely checking out the magazine when it comes out. But the fun doesn't stop there. No, sir, the fun does not stop there. I have got a big old stack of extra goodies as well, starting with the Invincible Iron Man Epic Collection. This one is Battle Royal. So this collects Iron Man 47 through 67. I am in the middle of that run in my History of Marvel videos, and some of them are interesting, some are better than others, some are good, some aren't so good, but I just wanted to have these because I think there was an omnibus, like a volume 1 Iron Man omnibus that collected 1 through whatever. It's way out of print. I don't have it. I don't have very much Iron Man physical copies. So because I'm in the middle of this run right now for my History of Marvel videos, I wanted a physical copy, and this is it. And then from DC, I picked up Tales from the Dark Multiverse Volume 2. So I don't have Volume 1 yet, and if I remember correctly, Volume 1 was a trade paperback, but then Volume 2 has only ever been a hardcover. And Volume 1 was only ever a paperback, or at least the paperback was the only one in print. I didn't want a paperback of one and a hardcover of the other, but when they released the paperback today, I had to get it, so now I've got to go back and get Volume 1. But if you don't know, this all ties into Death Metal. I haven't read any of it. I still haven't read Death Metal. But this kind of sort of ties into Death Metal. It's basically like a what if. It gives you, so like we've got Batman Hush, Flashpoint, Wonder Woman War of the Gods, and Dark Knight's Metal. But so those same storylines, but if things had gone differently in those storylines. So I was super intrigued by that. The first volume has more. I think it's got like Nightfall, for example, but you know, when Batman got his back broken, but things go differently. So it's like a what if for these different events, and I just thought that sounded super interesting. So yeah, I've got to get the Volume 1 trade paperback now that there's the Volume 2 trade paperback, but I can't wait to dig into this one because these stories sound really cool. But that still isn't it. I got some big boy books as well. The first one I was not expecting, but I went ahead and picked it up. So this is Daredevil by Brubaker and Lark Volume 1. So this collects Daredevil number 82 through 105 when Ed Brubaker took over the book. So I wasn't expecting this one this week. So this cover came out this week. I actually pre-ordered the other cover, which comes out next week for some reason. I have no idea why. When I walked into my shop today, they said, "Hey, we've got your Daredevil for you," and I said, "Wait a minute, I'm not expecting that. That's not even on my list for this week." But yeah, the different covers came out in 2 different weeks, and I really, I had pre-ordered the other cover, but then I saw this one. I was like, I kind of dig that cover too, so I went ahead and picked it up. So I won't have to buy it next week, but I went ahead and bought it now. I've never read Brubaker's run on Daredevil. I haven't even read Bendis' run on Daredevil, which came before this run. I think I have that omnibus. Not yet. I think that omnibus is maybe getting reprinted later this year, and it's coming. But yeah, I'm super excited to read it because I hear it's a great run. I just got to crack it open and read it. But that's not it. I got another big boy book that I was expecting today. This is Thor by Matt Fraction. So this has a bunch of different Thors in it. This has the 2007, a few issues from the 2007 run, 615 through 621, and then 22 issues from the 2011 run of The Mighty Thor, not to be confused with Jane Foster's Mighty Thor by Jason Aaron. And there's just a whole bunch of like different stuff. I just never read this either, and I just wanted to add to my Thor collection down here because it's a little bit lacking. So yeah, I went ahead and picked this up, and I'm excited to break into this one as well. But that's still not it. I got one more big boy book. So this was from, I think it was from last week. This is the Teen Titans by Jeff Johns omnibus. So this contains his entire run, Jeff Johns' entire run on Teen Titans. So that is, I don't know how many issues that is, but it's every issue of his 4-year run, so maybe like 40 issues or so, plus Beast Boy number 1 and Robin 146 and 147. This, outside of the OG Marv Wolfman, George Perez Teen Titans, this is probably the best Teen Titans that's ever been, at least in my mind anyway. I have read a lot of it. This has a really cool story where the Teen Titans go into the future and find future versions of themselves as the Justice League. So we got Connor Kent as Superman, and Tim Drake has taken over as Batman. And just that was a really cool story, and there's a bunch more in this. So this being the entire series, I just had to get it. And that's it, guys. It was a bigger than expected haul this week, but still some really, really cool stuff. So guys, I appreciate you watching. If you like this video or any of the other videos on my channel, maybe consider hitting the subscribe button. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like this video, give it a sarcastic thumbs up. And if nothing else, leave me a comment below and let me know what you picked up. Was it a bigger than expected week for you? Did you get any big boy books? What do you think about Dark Crisis? What do you think about Amazing Spider-Man? Am I the only one who feels this way? Just let me know. Whatever you got. I love comic books. I could talk about them with a room full of people or just to a camera. Guys, don't forget, comic books are supposed to be fun. They are just another fun form of storytelling. Fun art, fun stories. The vast majority of them are fiction and are not real. So it doesn't really matter what happens in any of them because it's not real. There's plenty of stuff to pick from. You've clearly seen a bunch of different, a bunch of variety here. Lots of stuff to look through, find something you like, disregard the things that you don't like, and let everybody else enjoy those things. Also, don't forget, it doesn't matter how much you buy each week or each month. What makes a great comic book haul is that the things that you get are special to you, that make you excited to get them, to own them, to read them. Whether it's 1 book, 10 books, 100 books, as long as it's special to you, that's what makes a great comic book haul. So guys, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.